Okay, tonight we're going to start learning the dinim of Bedikat Chametz, and to preface it as follows. We know that the Torah says you're not allowed to own Chametz. You're not allowed to own Chametz that belongs to you. So technically, if you nullify the Chametz, then it's not yours. But the Chachamim came along and they said that that's not enough, because you might, as the Gemara's expression, you might find an expensive bottle of Chametz during Pesach that you really never intended to nullify because it's too expensive to nullify. So therefore the Chachamim instituted something called Bedikat Chametz. Bedikat Chametz, the Gemara instituted that the night before Erev Pesach, Erlar Ba'asar, the night before the 14th, which this year would be Tuesday, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday night, you have an obligation to do Bedikat Chametz in any place that you're going to bring the Chametz into. Any place you're going to be, that you brought Chametz into during the year, and you're planning to use it for Pesach, and you're not planning to sell it, so those places need Bedikat Chametz. What is the concept of Bedikat Chametz? You search for Chametz to make sure, and the mitzvah is, by the way, not to find Chametz. The mitzvah is to search for the Chametz. You don't find, you don't find. There's no mitzvah that you have to find Chametz. The mitzvah the Chacham instituted, it's a rabbinic mitzvah, that's why we make a bracha on it, because the Chacham instituted that you have to look for Chametz.
Even if you know that you took 10 pieces and...
Well, I'm saying, but we'll get to that in a minute. So there's a mitzvah to look for Chametz. Now, ideally, the Chacham said, la'er aned. You have to do it with the flame of a candle. Why? Because then, when you have a candle, then you're able to. They didn't have electricity in those days. They didn't have flashlights in those days, and so therefore they would have candles. That's the lights in the house would be basically candles. You have to take a single wicked candle. The Gemara learns it out from Psukim. That you have to go. Why do you use a candle? Because it's interesting. The flame, the light of the candle, single wick candle, goes in front of the candle. So therefore, when you have a candle, you can see. You bring it around the house. You can see in front of the candle to see if there's any crumbs of chametz. Now, obviously, you can't do bedikat chametz in a dirty house. The house has to be spotlessly cleaned. Then, after everything's cleaned, then you have to go go looking for the chametz. So you have to take a candle and you have to look all over the house. It's interesting. The Gemara says if it's a multi-wicked candle, what's called an avuka, a torch, or like we call Havdalah candle, that's not kosher to do bedikas chametz with. And the Gemara says two reasons. Number one, if it's a big flame, you're going to be afraid to look around. You're afraid the house will burn down. And secondly, the Gemara says that the light of a torch, multi-wicked, is behind the candle, not in front of the candle. So therefore you need to do a search with a candle and look around the whole house. Or any place that we said that you have chametz during the year. Now that includes businesses, it includes your cars, any place that you're going to be using during Pesach. Now, so then you have to do bedikas chametz. Ideally, it needs to be done the night before Erev Pesach.
Whatever is accessible, right?
Yeah, whatever is accessible.
But it's not accessible, there's nothing you can do.
If it's buried under like 9 inches.
But most of the stoves, on a silver burner underneath, you're going to see a bunch of comments.
Yeah, but over there it's different because it's food issues. You're cooking. Over there, it has to be cleaned out. I know that's a lot of work. That's the main work of Pesach cleaning, is cleaning the oven.
I know, but how are you going to reach it?
If you can't reach it, then what they do is they take some bleach or something like that, and they pour it down there a little bit, and that ruins the crumbs that are there, and therefore it's not chametz anymore. Now, what happens in oven, whatever, you have crumbs that you can't get to, or anywhere. You have a radiator, whatever, you have crumbs gets in there, yeah? Let's say you have an air conditioning unit on the floor, or a heating unit on the floor, and crumbs get in there. So how do you get in there? Okay, but up then if you pour some bleach down there, something like like even Windex or something like that it ruins it, so it becomes nifsum echeres kalev, and it's fine. Now,
It's something you don't see, but you sort of technically get to it.
no, if it's buried under gimel tvachim, it's technically, you don't have to move out your refrigerator to see if there's any chametz underneath the refrigerator. Or you don't have to move out an oven to see maybe there's chametz underneath the oven. Al pi din, you don't have to. Why don't you have to? Because it says any chametz that a dog won't get to, we're not afraid you're going to find it during Pesach. So the Gemara says anything which is gimel tvachim, which is, let's say, between 9 and 12 inches, buried, so you like your refrigerator, your oven, or you have a massive cabinet, whatever. So al pi din, you don't have to move it out because it's buried. So then you don't have to do bedikas chametz there. But technically it's like this. Halachically, the only time you can make a bracha on bedikas chametz is if you do it the night of Erev Pesach. Like, again, Tuesday night, next Tuesday night. If you do bedikas chametz, then you can make a bracha. But halachically, what happens if somebody doesn't want to leave the whole house for that Tuesday night? And not only that, they're getting the house ready for Pesach earlier. I always mention it, and it's funny because it's not brought down in places, but it's so simple logic that if a person, let's say, wants to start getting their kitchen ready for Pesach Sunday, next Sunday, right? The week will be when start already cooking for Pesach. So basically you're making your kitchen Pesach. So halachically you have to do bedikas chametz before you get the kitchen ready for Pesach. If you didn't do bedikas chametz, you don't know that there's no chametz there. So if you don't know there's chametz, are you cooking with chametz around maybe? So then al pi din, let's say you want to make your kitchen Pesach Sunday before Pesach. So then Mitzvah Shabbos, you have to take either a candle or a flashlight. You don't make a bracha, and you search in the kitchen to make sure there's no chametz. The Alter Rebbe says if you want, you can do the whole house earlier except one room. Why do you have to leave one room? Because we don't want to take away the bracha from the mitzvah b'dikas chametz. So therefore, if somebody, let's say, wants to do the whole house Saturday night, okay, they have time, whatever, they're home. So then, Tuesday night, they should leave one room that they didn't do b'dikas chametz, and then make a bracha and you do b'dikas chametz in that room. Now, the Alter Rebbe says again, like we mentioned before, the mitzvah is not to find chametz, the mitzvah is to search for chametz. Nevertheless, there's a custom of putting out 10 pieces of bread. So the Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch halachically, why do you put out the 10 pieces of bread? That you should find something that you have to burn. Because then you get a mitzvah of tashbit, so you get a mitzvah of burning chametz. But the Alter Rebbe says really in Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe says you really halachically don't have to do it. But minig Yisrael Teirei, it's a minig to put out the 10 pieces of bread. Why? What's it? Why 10? So that's already Kabbalistic. Well, it's interesting. Why is the custom put out 10 pieces of bread? So the reason for that is because the halachic reason is why does the minig have 10? Because in the Gemara in Pesachim it also talks about what happens. You had 10 pieces of bread and all of a sudden you had 9. Or you put out 10 and then you found 11. Or you put out 10 and you saw a mouse with a piece of bread running around the house, and then there was a white mouse and a black mouse. The whole Gemara has all these. In those days it was very common, by the way. Is it the same mouse? Is it the same bread? You have to... So that's the halachic reason for the halachic custom of putting out 10 pieces of bread. According to Kabbalah, the reason why you put out, the Chassidus, the reason why you put out 10 pieces of bread is because bedikas chametz is an internal examination of our own chametz within us, the Yetzer Hara, and there's 10 levels of the soul. So therefore you put out 10 pieces of bread corresponding with the 10 levels of the soul. But people should be careful when you put out the 10 pieces of bread, there should not be big pieces. Because if each piece is bigger than a kazayas, which is 1 ounce, and you don't find it, then you have to keep looking until you find it.
But you said if it's not valuable, it's functional.
But if it's a kazayas, it's valuable.
You said a big bottle of expensive
No, but I'm saying anything which is chametz or kazayis, you have a mitzvah of burning it. That's it. 1 second. That's what I'm saying. From Tzad Halacha, what you should do is each piece of the 10 pieces should be smaller than a kazayis, but altogether they should be a kazayis or more, because then you get a mitzvah of tashbisu. Because the whole bracha, by the way, it's interesting. The bracha on Bedikas Chametz is not a sheket shana b'mitzvahs vanu livdek chametz or al bedikas chametz. The bracha is al bir chametz and destroying the chametz. So it says in the Alter Rebbe says, why do you do al bir chametz? Because the purpose of searching is to get rid of anything that you find. So therefore, the best thing is if you put out the 10 pieces of bread, first of all, you don't put them in aluminum foil because then they don't burn. You wrap it in a napkin, make sure it's doesn't crumble. Put it out in 10 places where you know where they are. And then, but the Bedikas Chametz says in halacha, it's not just gathering 10 pieces of bread, that's it. You have to go look. For Bedikas Chametz, you have to search the whole house in the car. What do you want?
If a person's leaving right before Shkia, Erev Pesach, and they're traveling until...
So you have to do Bedikas Chametz the night before without a bracha, in one room.
You can't do it after Chag HaMincha?
No. The bracha has to be only at night. What?
Practically speaking, for 10 pieces, what use like a half slice of bread? What's how do you measure a size?
Practically, let's say a slice of rye bread is an ounce. So you take, if you make, you can take 2, but let's say you take this one slice of bread, you tear it into 5 pieces. You take another slice of bread, so together you have a kazayis, but each piece itself is less than a kazayis. So therefore, halachically, if you don't find it, bittul is going to help for it. Bittul helps a chametz less than a kazayis. It's not going to help for a chametz bigger than a kazayis. So then you just do that.
It's less than a kazayis, and you're looking for it, you can still make a bracha, right?
Huh?
You can still make a bracha, but it's less than a kazayis.
The mitzvah is to look.
I'm saying even though...
No, I'm saying if you lose it, let's say you put out 10 pieces of bread, you only found 9.
Okay,
So if the piece is bigger than the kazayis, you have to keep looking. If it's more than the kazayis, you mevatel it.
You can make the bracha regardless whether you have the 10.
Whether if somebody doesn't have 10 pieces of bread, let's say, they make the bracha anyway. What?
If you find chametz during Pesach, what's the best way to handle it?
If somebody finds chametz during Pesach, if it's on Yom Tov for Shabbos, if you find it on Yom Tov for Shabbos, it says kefal of keli. You have to cover a keli because chametz is muksa on Pesach, and Shabbos in Yom Tov it's muksa. So therefore you just cover it with a keli. If you find,
Little kids around.
if you find it during Chol HaMoed, so technically you have to burn it
How do you burn it?
with fire.
No, good question. It's a big piece. You just regular, wrap it.
Like you put in, like you burn anything. But that din is a little bit different nowadays. And that is, let's say somebody forgot to put away something with the chametz. Not a few crumbs. Somebody had a box of crackers, okay, and they just forgot to put it away with the chametz, but it's a box of crackers. So in the time of the Gemara, you have to burn it. Nowadays, the poskim write, it's part of the mechira. When you sold the chametz, you sold it. So you have to pick it up, not Shabbos or Yom Tov. Shabbos or Yom Tov is mamish muksa. But Chol HaMoed, you pick it up and you put it away. Huh? Not necessarily. They didn't necessarily do mechin in time of the Gemara.
What if you're worried about your kids, little kids, is it better to put it away?
Not if it's muksa, you put away the kids. Put the kids away. What? Not all muksa is mutter tilta achiyat. If it's for the tzedek muksa itself, it's not going to help. It's not so simple. In the Gemara says kefal of keli. The question is, Taisus in the Gemara asks the question: how can you do kefal of keli if you cover the muksa with? So you're making the keli now muksa. So how can you be mevatel a keli and making it muksa on Shabbos? What Taisus talks about.